Hi, I'm Richard Ashworth. I'm planning to talk to you about Shihei hexagram number 21, otherwise known as biting through. And the first thing that you might be interested in is you might study is the way that it looks, because it is yang at the bottom and yang at the top, and all the rest is yin except for line 4, which is another yang line. So if you maybe draw that yang, yin, 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 yang, yin, yang, it looks like a mouth. And it's a mouth that's biting through something, and that biting through is at line 4. So the payload of this hexagram is at the 4th line. And it is a hexagram that is about crime and punishment, if you like. On one level, it's traditionally used in that way, but it's very much also about interaction between people. It's about dealing with upsets. It's about dealing with insults and grievances and so on and so forth. There are 2 hexagrams in the Book of Changes that relate to legal action. Hexagram number 6, Song Dispute, is about 2 people arguing. 2 dogs barking is the actual image. And it's about, I'm right, you're wrong, that kind of thing. This one, number 21, is about transgression. It's about a legal system. And on one level, it's about how we deal with injustice, how we deal with upset. And on another level, it's about how a society orders itself. I mean, whether the purpose of justice is about punishment, or whether actually that's a kind of a mistake. And what it does in the 6 lines here is to examine the what actually works in that sense. So is the purpose of justice to get revenge? Probably not. The Book of Changes says that the only inevitable outcome of violence is further violence. So probably not such a great idea. And you might say, some people would say, the purpose of a penal system is to A, take dangerous people off the streets, B, punish them in a way that other people are not encouraged to do the same as they did, and C, rehabilitate them if possible. And you might say that the same kind of structure as this hexagram suggests applies to how we deal with other people. So if you've cast this hexagram, it suggests you have a problem of some sort in terms of dealing with other people. This is in the Tao of Humanity, the upper canon, the first 30 hexagrams. It may be that you have an upset, you have a disagreement, you have a grievance, you may have been insulted, upset. I mean, it may be a very small thing, but what we tend to do is to react in one of 2 ways. One is beat them up, the other is beat ourselves up. And hexagram number 21 is about how we learn to perhaps deal with it better, depending upon the circumstance. Now, again, if you look at the structure of it, yang either end, then 2 yins, a yang, 1 more yin. So there's this yang line at the 4th to bite through. It suggests that the outer lines are containing the inner lines, and the outer lines are the villains, if you like, the miscreants, the transgressors. And what it's suggesting is that the adjudicators, justices, the aggrieved, which might be you or me in this case, are as imprisoned by the aggressors as the other way around. So how do we deal with that kind of thing? Do we fall on our sword, or do we attack? I mean, what do we do? The answer is always pretty much in relation to the Book of Changes, and we try to take the middle path. Not always that easy, because we may overreact or underreact. So if we take this line by line, the first line relates to a miscreant, and it relates to a pretty silly miscreant. It relates to someone who's really not a very good villain. And it suggests that a rap on the knuckles and sending them back out into the world is probably the right way to deal with them. So it's, if you like, at one end of the how we tolerate things, and in terms of how we might feel if we have been attacked, we've been upset, we've been abused, we've been ignored, those kinds of petty things that even people as enlightened as me can get upset about. Sometimes the answer is to just laugh. In fact, probably laugh is probably usually the most appropriate response. But we're human, aren't we? I am. So it's suggesting, in that case, don't overdo it. The second line, which is about biting, starts being explicitly about biting into things, is about a harsh response, but it's suggesting that you need also to learn how to be harsh when necessary. For some people, like aging hippies like me, that's quite a difficult one, because I spent most of my life trying not to be harsh. But sometimes it's the right way to do it. Sometimes things need a sharp rejoinder. And if you're a subscriber to the Bible, for instance, and I find it a wonderful book, I'm no particular ist of any sort, but it's a wonderful book of poetry and wisdom and advice, if you like, history also. We learn in the New Testament that Jesus threw over the tables of the money changers. Now, he lost it. It suggests that even this guy whose philosophy was turn the other cheek, in this particular case, didn't. There's nothing to suggest that he actually ends up, kicking hell out of them or punching him or beating them over the head. What we know is he turns over their tables. He throws them out of the temple. And this is not what you might expect. So what that line is saying is that sometimes you have to learn to do that. And in the process of learning to deal with the slings and arrows of our daily lives, we need to learn sometimes to respond sharply, is what that says. But line 3 is suggesting you can go too far. And the Book of Changes says that the only inevitable response to violence is further violence. So if we relate this to how we might deal with a criminal, if we are overly harsh with them, they are liable to be resentful. And if we deal with our children in that way, if we are overly harsh, they are liable to be resentful. And this suggests that it is no part of a justice system to be overly harsh. You need to be measured. And the idea is that what the hexagram is saying is that there are these various reactions, and let's learn to take the middle path. And then we now come to line 4, which is it's the payload. It is the meat, if you like. There are meat metaphors in this of this hexagram. It's saying if you get this right, you've kind of learned it. And whether we're talking about the way we might deal with our a mother-in-law or a business partner or a competitor, or someone who's just casually unpleasant, in our view. If we get this one, the line the hexagram that it changes to, if you change line 4, and each of these lines obviously are telling you, giving you more advice by telling you what hexagram they change to if you change the line. So line 4 will give you hexagram number 27. Hexagram 27, Yi, the corners of the mouth, is very interesting because it looks very like Shihei, except that yang line has now been bitten through. And it suggests if you're learning not to be too harsh, but also not to be a pushover, there will come a time when you can be trusted with crime and punishment. There'll come a time when you can be trusted with other people, which is something many of us aspire to. Which takes us to line 5, which changes to number 25, which is Wu Wang, which is the blessing. So it suggests that if we've learned all of this, we are now blessed with justice. We are now able to deal with people. We know when to respond harshly and when not to. We know we are able to contain ourselves. And the major thing about this, it seems to me, about achieving the middle path is to do with being able to contain ourselves. Because when we act in order not to feel a particular way, we make mistakes. It's really as simple as that. And our job, perhaps, is to be conscious enough to know that if we act in a particular way, we're trying not to feel frightened. We're trying not to feel angry. We're trying not to feel abused. We're trying not to do all sorts of things. The trick is to have those feelings, which are clearly what the Tao appears to have in mind for us, and act intelligently. And when we are not acting to not feel a particular way, we suddenly get a lot smarter. So Wu Wang is the blessing that comes from that. Which brings us to the sixth line, the top line, the final line, usually referring to spiritual and that kind of stuff. That this top line presents us. You remember that the miscreants are on the outside, containing the person who apparently is in the right. Our distress makes us at the effect of, if you like, bad people. And here is a very bad people, the baddest of the bad. This is someone who doesn't give a damn. This is someone who will not change. And we have to know that's sometimes the case, because again, if, as is likely, if you're watching this, you're interested in doing work on yourself and, being the best kind of person that you can be, you don't want to judge people, and you definitely don't want to condemn them. And what line 6 is saying is that this person is someone who needs to be out of your life. In terms of crime and punishment, it's someone who needs to be put away for a long while. You attempt to rehabilitate them, but it's someone who's probably not paying attention. It's someone who is cynical. And you might say, somebody said, a cynic is just a bruised romantic. There will be a story about this. And we try to deal with such people in an enlightened and kind of way. But there are certain people who are so damaged that if you throw them a lifeline, all they will do is to pull you into the water. And this person, there is just no point trying to help. So you have those 6 lines. You may find that they apply, if you go back over this, to what's happening in the world right now. There are a couple of trouble spots, 3 trouble spots are obvious to me, where these lessons would apply. But I think if you cast this hexagram, those are the things to get. This is about learning to deal with the slings and arrows of just being alive and dealing with people appropriately. Appropriateness is probably the keynote here. So that's Shihei, Fighting Through, hexagram number 21. We're going to be looking at all 64 hexagrams in the order in which they appear in the calendar, as to say, the ones that apply to each of the animals in the Chinese zodiac. This has been the wood ox. Next month is going to be the fire tiger. We'll be looking at another hexagram. We're looking at all 64 over a period of years. You can join us for a year if you like, and you can look at the ones we've dealt with already on my YouTube channel. And you can contact me at Richard Ashworth Feng Shui at Gmail, Richard Ashworth Feng Shui at Gmail. The website is www.imperialfengshui.info, imperialfengshui.info. I've been Richard Ashworth, and do join us next month when we were looking at the hexagram that relates to the fire tiger. You'll discover what it is then. I look forward to seeing you then. Bye.